roads lead to this?
The journey began on Friday, June 11, 1993, and it culminated on Friday, June 10, 2022. We have seen through the near 30 years this franchise has been in existence how it paved the way to the advancement in visual effects and transforming practical effects in telling a compelling cautionary tale of what happens when man tampers with nature.
And yet, with each sequel, the writing couldn't quite match the original.
I appreciate that you have to compete with other studios in order to garner continued interest in your IP, but at the same time, you don't need to follow trends when your OG movie was a trend setter. Now, the subject of today's review and the final entry in this retrospective series of the Jurassic Park movie franchise, Jurassic World 3 Dominion, has the chance to answer the question of whether it can match the magic of the original.
Will it? Time to find out as we experience Dominion.
The biggest problem with this sequel is that we were led under the false pretense that this would look at the global situation of dinosaurs living among us. They touch upon it too briefly, seeing footage from Battle at Big Rock with pterodactyls nesting in a metropolitan city and to seeing animal, fish and wildlife chasing Rexy through the Californian forest, interrupting a drive-in movie performance. I will give some credit to the movie. In the extended cut, the prologue, where we see life on Earth during the Cretaceous period and essentially an origin story for Rexy, with her Cretaceous ancestor losing a battle with her life in a very similar fashion to how the adolescent Rex in Jurassic Park 3 was snuffed out about as quick as Morbius's run at the box office. And to see where it all began with this lone mosquito that fed off the prehistoric Rexy before the animal's life left her body was very poignant. I really don't understand why Trevorrow thought it was a good idea to have Biosyn recreate Cretaceous locusts instead of dealing with mankind coexisting with dinosaurs globally. That would have been a far more compelling and rewatchable movie experience. I was pleased that Rexy stamping on the remains of the I-Rex was the end of the hybrid dinosaurs. That I will give credibility. The Giganotosaurus, I'm kind of at odds with. It's pretty much been an established precedent since Jurassic Park 3 that there has to be a super dinosaur in each movie. From the Spinosaurus in 2001's Jurassic Park 3, the Indominus Rex in 2015's Jurassic World, as a formidable foe to Rexy, marking her first appearance since Jurassic Park, to Blue taking out the sociopathic Ripper the Indoraptor in Fallen Kingdom, and to the Giga that Colin Trevorrow compared to the Joker.
I swear, if he asks, do you know how I got these scars? I'm gonna have a moment.
All that's missing is for the Giga to have the Joker makeup and the illusion is complete. Now, we were led to believe that Macy was genetically recreated from her mother after she died in a car accident.
Well, not according to this movie.
Macy's mother, Charlotte, impregnated herself with her own DNA.
What?
This is where it gets more convoluted. Charlotte changed Macy's DNA so that she wouldn't inherit the disease that eventually killed her.
Okay, folks, I'm just gonna call this spade for spade. At this point, recreating dinosaurs genetically looks more scientifically plausible than the pseudo-science nonsense in this movie. I mean, come on, this is the kind of thing that belongs in a movie script from the asylum.
I will give a small scientific credit. Blue was engineered with a monitor lizard that has the ability to reproduce asexually, so that at the very least makes sense.
Also very similar to Godzilla 98.
Wu believes Macy and Beta's DNA, Blue's daughter, hold the key to synthesizing a new strain of DNA that will stop the locusts ravaging crops that aren't biosyn and saving the planet as a result.
I'll give the writing this, at least we see someone trying to atone and make amends for what they did.
At the beginning and middle, we see Rexy being at odds with a prehistoric Giga and the modern-day genetically recreated counterpart, and on both occasions the Tyrannosaurs fared less than favourably. And even in this situation, it seems like she bit off more than she could chew, even with the Therizinosaurus stepping in. Now you'd think that Rexy is down and out, right?
You gonna let him get away with that? Finish him!
Had this been written in the same realistic writing of the original Jurassic Park, we would not have seen Rexy teaming up with the Therizinosaurus. This is the problem with the modern Jurassic Park movies compared to the original trilogy. It's too much like the Bayformers and less like the original movies, where they're grounded in a naturalistic setting. And the ending is so contrived, where the message of dealing with the global dinosaur situation is that we have to learn to coexist with them.
I'm sorry, what?
I think if they had expanded on the idea from Fallen Kingdom in taking them to a sanctuary that was separated from the world of people, in which the animals could live in peace as nature intended, would have been a far better ending than letting them run free in the wild that has undoubtedly already upset the natural order of things. One saving grace is that the Tyrannosaurs remained in the Biosyn Valley that was separate from everywhere else, which also included the T-Rex family from Isla Sorna in the Buck and Doe. Where Junior was remains to be seen. While this movie is not the worst, it's still light years away from the majesty of the original Jurassic Park. Which, given the current writing of modern Hollywood, I don't know if we'll ever see anything akin to the solid writing of that movie again. Because, heaven forbid, we could actually have something that would be an evolution of that timeless classic, and not a devolution that's basically Transformers meets dinosaurs. It's interesting to see Owen go from the badass, happy-go-lucky mold to being a father figure, but still carrying himself with the same charm and charisma as we've seen him over the previous two movies. This character has gone on an amazing evolution from being a bossy park general manager to being a dinosaur advocate to being a surrogate mother to Macy after the events of Fallen Kingdom, and the length she would go to get her back. Claire is a true mother, and Bryce demonstrates through her performance that a mother's love is real regardless of whether a child is yours biologically or being a surrogate mother. Isabella does a great job at playing a frustrated adolescent Macy at not being able to explore the world and having many unanswered questions about her mother and, by extension, herself. I really felt like he was brought on for the sake of. Even though I have torn apart Jurassic Park 3 till there's nothing left, at least he made that movie somewhat salvageable. Here, he's not really given anything useful to do. He almost feels like a background character. Of all the returning Jurassic Park cast, she and Jeff have all the best material. Laura shows where Ellie is in life and how she intends to restore the balance, and she plays off Sam like 2001 was yesterday. Jeff was given a lot more to do this time around as opposed to his coffee break appearance in Fallen Kingdom, where he essentially acts as a motivational speaker at the Biosyn complex. Of all the changes that have happened throughout time in the 30 years since this franchise began, Malcolm is still the same as he's been since the first two movies, and Goldblum has not missed a step. Wise makes Kayla tough, straight to the point, and no nonsense. She doesn't speak as much as the other characters, but when she does, it means something. Atty has a small role as Ramsey, where he's this laid-back and reserved, soft-spoken admin of Biosyn, and he's extremely likable. This was the character's redemption arc, realizing what he had unleashed upon the world with the Locusts, and how he was trying to make amends by acquiring Beta and Macy's DNA as a means of creating a new strain of locusts that wouldn't ravage the world's food chain. You really feel the moral weight from Wong as he portrays Henry looking to be the scientist he was, rather than what he had become. Hey, Peter Parker's dad from Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Scott replaces Cameron Thor from Jurassic Park as Dodson, and I like the fact that he has the Barbasol can that he acquired from Isla Nublar from Camp Cretaceous, so that's canon at least. He comes across as likable to begin with, but when you begin peeling away the layers of what he's really up to, his death scene in the tunnel becomes all the more cathartic. Just like Nedry, he met his fate at the hands of the Dilophosaurs. Now, for all the crap I give this movie in execution of plot, character development, and sci-fi aspects that would belong better in a Sharknado script than Jurassic Park, I will give rightful praise to the use of more animatronics used in a Jurassic movie. Probably more animatronics used since the second and third movie. Seeing Dimetrodons in the Amber Mine was a surprise, as I was not expecting these pre-Mesozoic animals to feature, and from a scientific perspective, would leave me questioning how these could be resurrected, considering that their DNA would be more ancient than the dinosaurs' DNA. Be that as it may, the animatronics used to portray these animals definitely added a more terrifying dimension to the animals. Probably not seen since the more thrilling aspects in how the animals were used in The Lost World. Same thing can be said with the Dilophosaurus. This animal was supposed to have an appearance at the beginning of Fallen Kingdom.
And that was it. Sadly.
But after nearly 30 years, it was such a welcome surprise to the animal's return, with even more of its pack, and the animatronics used, especially when they were up close with Bryce, really emphasized how dangerous this dinosaur was, with how it coordinated like a velociraptor and the use of its venom. They have another appearance later in the death of Dodson. It's ironic how he had sent Nedry 29 years prior to steal secrets, and here he is meeting the same end. The visual effects, especially in the prologue scene, were mind-blowing. It reminded me how Walking with Dinosaurs might have looked if ILM had done the dinosaur renders and not Framestore. The CG for the animals is as photoreal as ever. Some of the shots where we see herds of Parasaurolophus riding with horses is just an amazing shot, along with the prehistoric Rexy taking on the Giga.
This is another area where this movie actually shines in.
Even if some of the previous sequels have been less than desirable or awful, the score at the very least has either been passable or worthy additions. Michael Giacchino is once again at the helm, and he provides yet another reason why he is a decent successor to John Williams.
He knows how to apply the applicable music for the situations that require it.
From thrilling and terrifying confrontations between dinosaurs, dinosaurs hunting humans, to a couple of nice callbacks to the previous movies.
Nobody's afraid of heights.
And the ending where all loose ends get tied up and seeing dinosaurs and humans coexisting.
The Jurassic saga ended as it began with the music. Majestically.
Jurassic World Dominion grossed a profit of $1 billion against a budget of $165 to $185 million. Now, after only a year's inflation, that would be worth $1.68 billion. Even without an inflation adjustment, 1993's Jurassic Park outclassed this with $1.046 billion. With the adjustment, Jurassic Park's profit in 2023 is $2.1 billion. And we look at each movie's take-home profit with inflation adjustments, the original still took home more. Dominion, $1.068 billion. Fallen Kingdom, $1.394 billion. Jurassic World, $2.112 billion. Jurassic Park 3, $629 million. The Lost World, $1.1 billion. And Jurassic Park, as I just mentioned, $2.187 billion. If you add the total take-ins, the Jurassic Park movie franchise took in a total profit of $8.5 billion. Arguably one of the most profitable movie franchises of all time. Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune gave the film 2 out of 4 stars, describing Dominion as the franchise's weakest entry, criticizing its dialogue and calling Owen and Claire thinly conceived. For Rolling Stone, David Fear wrote that compared to the original Jurassic Park, Dominion feels like a contractual obligation at best and a DOA attempting to wring one last drop out of an already depleted brand at worst. Mark Feeney of the Boston Globe wrote, "The movie has its moments, and the CGI really is fabulous, but this go-round feels fairly tired. It's also too long, and much of it is paced in a somewhat leisurely fashion." Bilge Eberai, hope I pronounced that correctly, of Vulture.com wrote, "While it's certainly nice to see Dern, Neil and Goldblum play these people again, it'd be nicer if the script gave them well-written dialogue or placed them in interesting situations."
At the start of this miniseries on June 11, I asked this question.
Jurassic Park. Just a name? Or does it mean more? I think it means so many things to so many people. For some, it was their first movie experience at the cinema. For others, it ignited their desire and passion for storytelling, to many wanting to get into the art of filmmaking. And for others, like myself, it spawned a lifelong desire to be able to show a love and passion for movies and escapism through the art of movie reviews and being able to show others the way we see it. I was a kid when Jurassic Park first came out in the summer of 1993, and I still have the same love, passion, and enthusiasm and respect for the movie. I just like to think I'm a little wiser in understanding the themes, messages, and nuances of the story 30 years later. For Dominion, dependent on whom you speak to, it's been enjoyed on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K since 2022. As for the franchise as a whole, I thank you for taking this journey with me on a franchise that has been near and dear to me since I was a kid.
I'm MJ Knight, and this was the experience of the Jurassic Park movie franchise.